Oh, can you grab my phone for me, actually? All
We're
right, we're
live, by the
live.
way. We are back.
What's up, guys? How we doing? It's been a couple weeks. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. I'm
Eli
still
lives.
in Europe. I'm still in Europe, but I told everyone that the second week I was in Europe that we would be doing a stream. So we are here, ladies and gentlemen, and boy, is there a lot to discuss. I mean, craziness coming from obviously Pokemon reprints question mark. I mean, how much of a size reprint are we actually getting versus what's just going on in the market and the craziness with some of the new sets that are going to be released. But before we jump into it, as always, leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe really helps the channel. Make sure to check out Alex's streams, of course, if you want to do some rip and ships with him or check out his content. Links down in the description below for that. And then obviously, if we ever have any spots open for the wholesale program, there's not a lot available at the moment, but obviously, if you can get at least some semblance of spend, it gets you in a position to get allocated for sets like Journey and Rivals so that you'll be able to still make free tendies. But let's
And to
jump into
respond
it,
to one of
brother.
the
Where do
chat
you?
already, Ken MFK. Investment advice from people who can't even be on time to YouTube. First of all, this is
Same.
not investment advice.
Yeah, not investment advice. Also, you do realize if you go check the description, we technically start at 12:30. So we've been early every stream. Thank you very much. We just take a while to actually get going because we're setting up. So go read the description. Thank you very much.
No, people don't read
Um,
descriptions. Trust me.
that's
Trust me.
fair. That's true. Who wants to check the links?
I try.
But
I try to make
yeah.
descriptions in my pack breaks on my website. No one reads the description. I still answer all the questions in chat.
Oh, of course. Where do you want to start, man? I mean, there's so much I feel like to discuss at this point.
Well, last week I would say reprints are the biggest topic, but I think right now the biggest topic is the Destin Rivals and like the Japanese, set the equivalency selling out on Safari Zone for $200 pre-orders. I can't remember a time in the last 10 years where I've seen a Japanese box pre-order that high.
That's so crazy to me.
Here's the question:
insane.
What's the equivalent to what is the equivalent Destin Rivals price that would match that? Is it like 350?
I mean, by Japanese standard, what was the previous most expensive box that was part of a non-specialty set? What can
I
you
feel
think
like I want to
of?
say like 120s.
Yeah. How much was Clay Burst?
I think around the 120s, 130s, if I can remember.
Yeah, it's crazy work. I mean, it's weird to think about because Journey Together right now is pre-selling for almost 250 on TCG Player. Um, and so Destin Rivals to just go above and beyond with that, man, I don't know. It's weird. Everything just keeps going up, and it's one of those things where there's, as with all things, always going to be a correction, but it's like watching what's happening right now, it's like this is good. I mean, you've probably seen it all over social media. People are making videos saying they're leaving the hobby or whatever until things normalize. But it's I don't know. It's
Here's
a
the
it's a weird
problem.
one.
This is not to like put anyone down, because it always sounds bad and everyone takes it to heart and gets really mad when I say things like this. But a lot of the people who are making those on leaving videos, they're usually the ones spending some of the least amounts. Like they're the ones who'll buy like a box or two. When it's like the people who aren't leaving, they're the ones buying like cases and cases worth. And so it's like one person that is staying and buying makes up for like 20 people that are saying I'm leaving, I'm done, because they just don't even really spend enough to matter.
Yeah, it's honestly hard for me to say. I have absolutely no clue. I just see the post about it, whether it be on YouTube or on X and other platforms, and I've heard a lot of people also mention it to me. I mean, for what it's worth, at least from an anecdotal perspective, being in the shop, well, seeing the shop sales, I should say more. um, it's it's not stopping. People are still coming in to the shop more than ever. Um, like let me put it for you this way: we had a record sale last month And we had a record month of sales for the shop last month, and February is a short month, right?
Yeah.
We already beat our record yesterday. So it's the 17th, or well, it was the 17th yesterday, and we beat our record for the entire month of February.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're just, we're having a good month or whatever, but like Journey hasn't come out yet. I have no clue what
We
our
had a
month's gonna
record.
end
We had a record night on stream Saturday too, so I get it.
at. So it's like a part of me is saying, okay, well, you're hearing all this talk, but it feels like it's like not really affecting sales from what I'm seeing at least, And it's because we're in a position where it's like your option is literally to leave or deal with what's going on. And if you obviously want to open packs, you just have to deal with the situation. Because like Destin Rivals, I mean, what do you think the price point that you're going to be telling people that want to open to buy at? Because seriously, if you're starting to see shops go up in pre-sale for $300+, like, all right, guys, I think it's a really good deal if you buy it at 250. Like, that sounds so wild to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it before, I think it's the vocal minority are the ones that like, they're the ones that get heard because they scream the loudest. But the fact that you're seeing record sales, if you look at TCG Player and eBay sales, they actually, you can see these, like, you can pull up like eBay's statistics. You can look at TCG Player's charts and like all their sales data. All the sales are stable, if not rising in a lot of things. Obviously like some of the things that went to the moon, like illustration rares are seeing some downturns right now. But as far as the majority of the market, everything is seeing increased amount of sales, increased price points, and this whole idea that, oh, everyone's just leaving and no one's buying and all this, it doesn't ring true when you look at the data. And so that tells me it's just the vocal minority that are complaining and everyone else is still just buying and enjoying the hobby.
Well, it's not even like just ultra modern too. It's also older
Yes.
stuff. I've been watching like, because every so often I like to check the Diamond and Pearl market because it's my favorite and I love to open packs. And I was looking at some of the recent sales and I'm just like, dude, has it already gone up that much? Like Majestic Dawn is selling for $200 a pack, and I used to pretty regularly be able to buy it for $100 a pack, like
Wow.
less than a year ago. So
Wow.
it's gone up. I mean, and I went and looked at recent sales, and there was a decent amount of recent sales at around the $200 price point. A bunch of other sets as well that were usually selling for 80, selling for like 120 plus. Like the market's moving. I mean, dude, level X sales for PSA. I'm just like, holy crap. We thought they were overpriced before because everyone, for the longest time was like, oh, no one cares about level X cards. Like they're overvalued. They'll correct at some point. But like before, it was like, oh my God, a level X is selling for $1,000. There's some that are selling for like several thousand of like just standard level X cards. Like the prices have continued to climb for these graded. So I mean, this is just an overall shift that's happening through the entire market. This isn't just because of the general scarcity of ultramodern.
Yeah, like I said, and it's just like there's two very distinct differences in the community feel too. Like I've talked about it in my pack breaks, but there's very distinct difference in there when everyone's like having a good time, very supportive, like donating packs to each other, donating their hits to each other. Like, oh, he didn't get a hit, let me give him one of mine. Like everyone's there rooting each other on, just all good vibes, right? And then I go and make a market video, and the comment section is, I would say half and half. It's like half the people are just pissed off, angry, saying something negative of me, negative about the market. And it's crazy how there's such a huge divide in the same hobby and two different ways that people are viewing the current market situation. And so I think it's just, it's just really depends on what I would say, like what way you interact with the hobby. It depends on how you feel about it.
Well, I think now as well, I think would be a good point of discussion too, because obviously, people saw someone made it. I can't remember specifically where it started, but obviously the conversation of reprints. I made a post about it on X.
Yeah, you left me out to dry with that one.
Dude, my bad. I literally made the post while I was in Italy and then was like, all right, putting my phone away. And
Yeah, and
so
before that you
I
were sick and like whatever. And so we
oh,
never
dude.
talked. And so like I didn't even know all this info was coming.
Well, it was one of those things where like, so one of my sources had like reached out to me because they were at Gamma and they were like, "Hey, just letting you know, like there was just a announcement made at Gamma that there's going to be reprints coming. Apparently distros had like put in orders for it a week or two ago. So expect that to happen." And if you saw our original like post we made on X, I had left off Obsidian Flames, and people were speculating like, "Oh, why is everyone else saying Obsidian Flames? Is it because Eli is not fully confident?" It's not that I was confident; it's that I had heard information that Obsidian Flames was originally going to be printed, but then they backtracked on it and it wasn't going to happen, and so I left it off for that reason. And so I just didn't make any sort of jump to that conclusion until other people started hearing that information. Because for me, I don't like to be the first one to come out because of hypothetically speaking, let's say that I come out with this information and it ends up being false for whatever reason. I like to have, people that can like cooperate with me in regards to the information itself because I'd much rather be correct than be first. Because to me it's not like sure it's nice to get clicks and stuff, but I like my credibility more than that. And more than anything too with that, I also have information that I typically won't disclose until I feel like it's an appropriate time because I'm not trying to get myself in trouble with a lot of my sources. Because, I mean, this is information that obviously it's important to like let people know about because obviously everyone's trying to get product, but also at the same time, it's like there are certain NDA agreements that individuals are like having to sign
Well,
when it comes
we can at
to
least say
making
this.
announcements.
We can at least say this. Surging Sparks, Paldea, Twilight Masquerade. We're talking less than 5 cases per store, most likely.
Yeah. So let's jump into it. I basically so each distro is obviously handling it differently, right? Certain distros are like charging 160 a box, which is outrageous, but I guess compared to the market for surging, it's not that outrageous.
I love it.
And then and then other distros are charging less. Um, and it's like not really it's so our main distro that we have, they allocated us 4 cases of surging, 4 cases of twilight, 4 boxes, not cases, boxes of Paldea Evolved. Um, and then obviously they allocated us some of the mini tins and the Paldean Fates displays. I can't recall the exact number. I cared more about the boosters, obviously. But like I thought that was crazy. And then I saw Rudy made a video saying he got only 5 cases of surging. So he literally got only a case more than us. I'm not saying it's the same distro, but when I hear him say something that's in the ballpark of kind of what we got from one of our main distros, I was like, all right, so it's bad for everyone. I'm not the only one that's like left out to dry, especially considering how big of like a supplier we are with our spend. So if this is a reprint, I don't know what to tell you guys because for me this doesn't like it was allocated. Like there was an allocation process, but not in the same way that you would say traditionally, which is people would put in numbers, right?
Well,
But you were notified, hey, here's how much you're gonna get. If you want it, yes. If not, then it's gonna get offered to someone else. So it's like it doesn't feel like it's an allocation process on a larger scale like we've typically seen where you would put in numbers, if that makes any sense. So I don't know to what scale this reprint really is. It feels small, I guess.
well, I mean, definitely check the cases when you get them and see if it doesn't say the not for resale before a date, because usually that's the way to know if it's a reprint or not. Is if it doesn't have that not for resale before date. Because all the Sword and Shield reprint sets I've looked at, and all the cases that don't say that, they were the reprint cases. So I guess that's how we can know if it's an actual reprint or just a restock.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point of emphasis. So one thing I will say, and I'm going to try and be very careful with this because going back to my original statement, I like to be correct and not first. There has been some information that's been relayed to me that Pokemon is more focused on upcoming sets. And And what I mean by that is like, and I don't think this is too like out of left field to say, because obviously they made a post about it, right? When they said that they are aware and they're going to address concerns for prismatic and sets forward. But more specifically, part of what was relayed from the sounds of it is that basically they understand that there is a lot of concerns from older sets like surging and so on, but ultimately with the way in which things are going with future sets, they're like, hey, we can try and play this game of going backwards and trying to reprint a bunch of this old stuff, but we're just going to keep playing catch up. So we're going to print what we can, and then we're going to try and focus on moving forward, printing the newer sets more so. This is just some of the information that I've been relayed. It kind of lines up with the post that they made on Twitter. Who knows how much obviously validity there is with this, but it is at least something to kind of think about, because ultimately, like, if you really think about it, you've got sets right now that are selling for significantly above MSRP that haven't even been released yet. What do you think Pokemon cares about more? Those sets that haven't come out and they're selling for 240 to 300 bucks a box, or the set that finally just broke above MSRP and is now selling at like 180, 200, but it's been out for like well over several years? You know, it's like, it sucks to say that, but it sounds more realistic when you think about it with that mindset.
I mean, I said it in my video. If I was running Pokemon, I think it's a pretty easy fix, in my opinion. If they completely discontinued printing right now on every other set, right? Every set. And Team Rocket comes and they say, we are allocating every machine to this one set, to these products. And then they say, okay, here's your allocation. You wanted 500 grand? Here it is. And stores are like, whoa, what do you mean? I only want it. I can't really take that. And they just dump it on everybody. And it's like, either take it or you're no longer accepted to this distribution. And I truly think that would be enough to really kind of cut the head off the snake and really cool things down. And then they take all that capacity and go to the previous set, prismatic. Take every capacity, go to surging. I think that's the only way to do it, because right now it's almost like trying to throw a cup of water on like a forest fire. It's just like, here's a couple cases on the, yeah, that does nothing. Like you might as well not even reprint these sets if you're going to give every store 4 cases.
Well, I think what you're saying is honestly a perfect representation of what we saw with Scarlet and Violet at the very beginning, because you had SV Base come out and you had Paldea Evolve come out, and let's all remember Paldea, it was selling for 85 to 90 a box. Like, no one wanted Paldea. SV Base was selling in the low 80s, and like on TCG Player, not secondary market, on TCG, it was selling for the low 80s. And so because of that, Pokemon didn't have to have any concerns about the pricing of all the Scarlet and Violet product. And so what ended up happening from it, they were obviously able to go back and print Lost Origin, Silver Tempest. They did a small one for Brilliance. They did a decent size for Crown Zenith. And they're able to also focus on 151. So if you're going to kind of take that same exact approach, like you said, if they can focus on printing right now as much as they can for prismatic forward and just like dump the ever living crap out of it, and then all of a sudden prices like major correct, major crash, because you have as much as I hate to say it, you have a lot of people that are going to be in this game buying it like 250 plus on certain boosters because they're going to say it's a good deal, and then it ends up correcting heavy because of a second wave that comes. All of a sudden it sets a lot of fear into the market, and then leads to a lot of people leaving it, and then of course transitions then from there. Hey, well, now that the market's started to settle on some of the newer sets that are going to come, maybe now it's time we can start looking at, which at that point it would be Twilight, Stellar, those sets to get printed. So who knows? But I think that your approach is definitely the best way to look at it and kind of how you would want to handle this market.
At the same time, though, it's just like, I made videos, and it's so funny when you say things like this, because as an investment channel like me, I know the responses I'm going to get, but I have to put the videos out because, it's what I believe, and it's what, if anyone does listen to me, it helps them. I told everybody that even if these sets get reprinted and the rumors are true, it's unlikely ever going to be enough to cool what we have going on in this bull market, and not to dump your sets. And so anyone who heard this news and dumped Paldea and dumped Obsidian, dumped Twilight, dumped Surging, I think you're going to be really upset in the next few months. Like, I think all of these boxes are likely going to be worth more in the next 2-3 months and into the end of the year, unless we get more of them, than before this big reprint came. And it just seems like Pokemon is you can tell they're scrambling at this point to get things under control, because they're firing every bullet they have in their chamber right now, and everyone's calling their bluff, right? It's just like, they're like, okay, put a press release out. Say we're going to print Prismatic into the ground. Okay, we did that. Okay, we're kind of scared. Okay, tell them we're getting reprints of everything. Okay. And everyone's like, yeah, I'm all in. I call. And Pokemon's like, yeah, we got nothing. You're like, okay, all right, keep it going up then. Keep it going up. Give me more. Give me more. And I just don't, I think people are just like unconvinced that things are going to cool off.
I think for me that what needs to happen at some point is either one of two things. Either you're going to need to see a cool off at some point. I don't know how it comes, whether it be because of the recession fears in the current, traditional market, or whether it be from Pokemon finally being able to address print concerns, or whether it be people leaving the market because of the demand. Doesn't matter. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict it. But either it's going to need to cool off so that there is available product for people to build spend at distributors, because ultimately at the end of the day, there's just not going to really be a market for new clients if they can't build spend. Because if you go and look at like half the distros, it's like, what do you want to buy? Oh, there's not even a single item available for me to build spend. How am I going to get Pokemon product if I can't build spend? Right? So then it kind of is like gatekept in a way that's just unhealthy for the market. Or controversially or not controversially, Pokemon completely steps away from distribution and handles it themselves. And whatever that looks like. But you have to have a system where basically it's not a matter of, hey, here's the new set that's coming out. We're going to base it off your spend. That's how you get access to this product. Because you can't really do that right now because there's no opportunity for people to build spend. So you have to have product available at pages for people to order, or else it kind of makes it really difficult for you to put yourself in a position to grow as a business.
Yeah, I mean, that's the argument I always have against all like the, whatever you want to call them, the Timmies, the Game Piece Army, the MSRP Army. It's just like, if stores list everything at these low prices that you guys are demanding, the store will sell out in one day, right? And everyone else who comes to the store for the next weeks, months on end until you get reprints or restocks are going to be upset because that store is not carrying the product. Then you mark it up, you're going to piss off the other people that say, well, you're selling things for too expensive, it's over MSRP. It's just like, well, yeah, you know what? True, but at least we have stuff on the shelves and it is selling little by little. That's how we want it. We want it to slowly sell over time, and that way we still have things to fill our shelves with if people do want it. And so it's this balancing act, whereas before there was just endless amounts of supply. You put it on the shelf, it was when it sold out, you call distributor, give me, 10 more cases, they'd send you 10 more cases, you put it back on the shelf. It's just not that way anymore. And so people are having to get really kind of creative with what they're going to do with these items. And, I've also said it before, and, it's like, you go through the same thing. It's just like, if you sell, right, if you sell 10,000 boxes, right, and you make $10 a box, right, you make the same amount of money as if you sell $1,000 or 1,000 boxes at $100 a box. So like, even though the profit margins are higher, the volume's so much lower that stores are probably making as much or lower amounts of money than they used to because the allocations are so low. And so it's like, there's a lot of problems in the market right now that aren't just like, they can't all be summed up with, oh, people are evil because they're paying high prices. It's like, no, it's more than that.
Well, it's also hard too, because you don't know what, and this is the reality that I think people really have to come to. And don't get me wrong, there is always a missing piece, so understand who you're buying from, right? But I would never say to immediately jump the gun on like crucifying someone for the prices they're charging, because you don't know what they bought it for, right? Obviously, if there's someone that's known for specifically gouging customers, then obviously, they have a record of pricing people poorly regardless of the market. But if you have someone that's known for giving you really good prices, and then all of a sudden like things drastically change, sure, you can sit there and say, oh, it's because hypothetically they're taking advantage of the good times of the market, just trying to make more money, which first and foremost, I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But also at the same time, you have to consider the fact that, okay, well, what happens now if this guy is getting new product in, but he's having to pay 20% below market just to be able to buy it because either his distro's gouging him or he had to go buy it secondary market off of someone's collection. It's like, looking at it that way, can you really fault the guy? Because at the end of it all, he's not going to make any money if he tries to sell it for at market, if not slightly above it. It's like, you have to kind of think about that piece, because it's not just him trying to make as much money as possible. It's also him trying to make money, period, because where he's getting his product from is so expensive at this point.
Yeah, man. I just I made a video about it today. I just don't. I'm trying to look around and see if I can see signs of slowing down, or the only thing I've seen that you could say is a negative is like some of the illustration rares are kind of coming down, but it's like, when cards shoot up, and you can say whatever you want, buyout, manipulation, whatever, and they go up 200-300% and they cool off 40% or something. I don't really see that as a massive indicator of anything. All I see is all the boxes still moving, still selling in large volumes, still moving up in value or staying at the same value. I see people still buying all of the sets we just mentioned. They're buying Surging Sparks, buying Twilight, buying Paldea, even with reprints coming. They're buying Prismatic Evolutions even after that statement came out and still rising. We're looking at Magic the Gathering doing well. We're looking at One Piece doing well. Across the board, TCGs are just still doing very well. And sure, the stock market's cooled off a bit, gave some gains back. Crypto's cooled off a bit, gave some gains back. But for the year, for the 52-week charts, everything's still extremely up. And so it's like, I don't know if just looking at, coming off the highs of some things here and there is really indicative of like a bear market coming or crashes coming. I mean, we still see a lot of spending power in the hobby right now. What are you seeing?
Before I answer, make sure leave a like, comment below, subscribe, and then in probably like the next 10-15 minutes, we'll go into the questions portion. So make sure that in caps you put question and then follow it up with your question down in the comment section. Makes it a lot easier for us to kind of help answer everyone's questions. But I mean, I can tell you that from our store, right? Because I was looking at the items that sell the most. It's 151, it's Paldean Fates, it's Prismatic Evolution, it's Paldea. I mean, it's what you think, right? What is selling in the shop is what is the most popular, right? That's just kind of what we're seeing currently. As far as it goes with, we'll talk about traditional here, right? Looking at kind of the traditional markets and the correction that we're having currently, especially with everything going on with the whole tariff talks, and that's a whole thing we can get into, obviously, with the whole Canadian company, for those of you guys that didn't know about that. But I feel like people are always looking at things so short-minded compared to the long-term perspective. Like, we're not like remember under the Biden administration where we had 1/4 of a recession and everyone was freaking out and saying that, and then they changed the goalpost of what was considered a recession just so that it would look better, and then after that we didn't have any sort of issue. Like, literally, you didn't think about it. You had a bad quarter, had another bad quarter, nothing, it corrected itself, right? Who knows obviously what's going to happen. I'm not an expert on tariff policies, but ultimately right now I think people are really just jumping the gun. I think there's a lot of kind of emotions that people are obviously feeling because of the unpredictability of the market itself. But I think that more than anything, just be cautious. But we've always talked about that, being cautious. But I wouldn't say immediately start jumping to the conclusion that the market's crashing, because it hasn't yet. You've seen retracements occur, but most of this happened before the tariff talk. So this isn't really anything that's that out of the norms. I mean, you kind of saw that with like Tesla, for example. Like, everyone's obviously looking at Tesla stocks. Tesla stocks were already down like 34%, right? Like, it wasn't like they were down 0% and then all of a sudden everything that's going on with the trade wars and the politics behind it. Like, I don't know. I feel like everyone is so reactionary with everything going on that people need to take a second to realize like, hey, we're not in a recession yet. There's still a lot of time before we really see what ultimately ends up happening in the market. Be cautious, but also at the same time, take it as an opportunity if you can.
Yeah, and it's funny because like especially with like investing in general, usually the right answer is do nothing, right? And it's like it's so easy for people to point to things like, "Oh, but you could have bought here and then sold here and then bought back in." It's just like, okay, well, at some point you have to kind of when you're doing your little paper trading in your head, you got to initiate when you were going to buy and when you were going to sell. And so you never know when those, exact right dots are until after the fact. You're Captain Hindsight to the rescue. And so it's just like these people who think they can time all these markets and they're worried about reprints and price drops and this and that. It's just like, dude, most likely if you would just hold and not worry about it, let's try to jump in and out, eat fees, eat shipping, try to find new ways to buy back in, pay taxes when you buy it, which a lot of people do. You're probably better off just not worrying about all this nonsense. Come back in 2 or 3 years, all this stuff's going to be higher than it is now. You're probably going to have better gains than traditional places that you could have put your money. Of course, you're going to have single cards here or there that, really spike up or down. Like you said with Tesla, you're going to have single stocks here or there that really go up or down. But overall, funds and booster boxes and things, they're just pretty stable over long periods of time. It's boring. I know it's the boring take, but it's the right take.
I saw someone, I can't remember who it was, but because everyone's talking about the NASDAQ, right? They said, go look at the NASDAQ on a 30-year and then tell me how big of a crash it is compared to the daily, which is what everyone always looks at, right? You can sit here and say, oh my God, it's crazy, it's crashed. Go look at a 30-year. You're like, was there even like, it's just like, you're looking so short term, right? And then another one I thought I saw was good, and this is obviously talking more housing market here, but someone was talking about how back in 2019 or 20, no, it was 2021 actually. It was in 2021. Someone said that they had bought a condo in California, and they were saying that they had bought it for like 350,000, and everyone said that they were crazy because it was overpriced and that they shouldn't have bought it. And now it's going for double that in the span of like 4 years, which is wild to think about, right? But also at the same time, there's this guy I listen to. I think it's like Clear Value Taxes. I really enjoy his content because he is like very like middle grounded. Like he's just gonna give you the facts, like no like political leaning one way or another. He said that the best time you should always consider when it comes to like buying a house is not looking and trying to time the market, but just finding a good deal for what's available currently. Because everyone's going to sit there and then they're going to sit on the sidelines and they're going to wait and wait and wait for a crash. And then if it never comes, all of a sudden you missed out on potential opportunities. Look at what's available in the current market and try and make the most of it. Because that's the reality. It's going to go up over time if you look at it on a grand scale. So same thing, obviously, like Alex was saying, applies to Pokemon here. You can't really think about this in the short term, or else you're obviously going to be too emotional about it and get burned.
Yeah, I'm gonna reply to Kith Flip in the chat too. Nomics, you're flipping packs and you're ripping shifts, so based on how much you have, people have decided not to invest in flip only like you are doing. That's incorrect. Flipping is not only what I do. So, Kith Flip, if you're full time in the hobby, great. If not, if you have a full time job, either one, that's your income, right? I make content. I do that. I do a lot of things for income. That is in no way, shape, or form my investment. I have more than double, triple the amount I have for inventory for pack rips in my actual long-term investment of Pokemon sealed product. I have investments in the stock market, which I'm not selling. None of that's being sold, right? Sometimes I sell things here or there when I've reached the amount of gains I want, and that's always happening every now and then when things age. But by and large, it's all being held. And so, no, I'm not flipping everything. I do believe in what I say. I do practice what I preach. And so, no, I mean, I truly believe that given, given like an act of God, world war type thing, normal market conditions, normal ups and downs, ebbs and flows, I truly believe any single booster box right now in the market in 3 to 5 years is going to be worth more than it is now. And it's likely going to outperform a lot of traditional investments, if not all of them. What I think. That's why I put my money in it. It's what's worked for the last 10 years. Probably going to keep working.
Yeah, it's a long-term perspective, man. It's a long-term perspective. People tend to forget that and to be fair, volatility over the past 5 years in both traditionals and cryptos and like, I think this might sound like a hot take to say, I think that the generation that I grew up in is the generation that I feel like is trying to get rich quick. And not to say that that hasn't been like an every generation thing, but more specifically, I feel like if you just follow meme culture, how many times have you seen like memes or like cultural things where it's like just got off of work, about to go make $1 million, and then it's snapshotting them taking their paycheck for the week and putting it all on red? Like the amount of memes I've seen about individuals that are literally putting all their money on GameStop stonks and AMD or the next speculative crypto, or going and betting it all on blackjack or in Vegas on red or black or whatever. Like it feels like so much more than ever there is such a desire for a lot of people to get wealthy extremely quickly, and the volatility in the market, to be fair, is like insane compared to what you look at historically speaking. And for that reason, everyone just feels like this is normal because, of course, like if crypto drops 20% in a day and that's normal, why can't that be normal for the stock market? You know what I mean? But it's like you can't look at these things all relatively. They're completely different in how they respond. And more specifically, you get a lot better of a picture when you look at the long term of the overall market itself, but no one wants to look at it that way because everyone wants to look at the short term. Should I buy and then immediately sell within a week, a month? Like no one ever says, hey, should I sit on this for another 5, 10 years? We rarely ever get that question. It's always, should I sell in the next week, month, like typically within the year, right?
Well, and then to respond to him again, like, Nomics, you need to put yourself in the position of people that have $1,000, not 30, 40, 50K. Dude, that was me. Like, I didn't have family money. I didn't get an inheritance. 10 years ago when I got in the hobby, right? When I found people like SM Pratt, Alpha Investments, all these people, right? They were already had, stuff like I had, or if not more, right? Way more than what I have even now. I didn't look at that and say, well, I'm just not that person. I don't have that much money. I don't make that much income. With what little income I had, I started to put little by little aside. I left some for flips to make money off of. I put some away. And I continue to do that year after year after year. And eventually it compounds. Your gains compound. You can take profits here and there, take advantage of plays here and there. You can keep making flips along the way, sure. But you build it over time. This hobby is all time. What you're looking at is the culmination of 10 years in the hobby. This isn't something that I did overnight. And so, yeah, I understand we're not talking everyone has the same amount of money to play with. A lot of people have way more than me to play with in this hobby. Some have less. I get that. But like at any part of the journey you're on, I still think it's better. And even if you don't want to invest in Pokemon, don't invest in Pokemon. For life in general, you need to use part of your day, right, to go and make income. Whether it be a job, whether it be flipping in Pokemon, whatever you're doing, and then put a portion of that income away to build wealth, whether that be an investment in the stock market, crypto, real estate, Pokemon. But you need to always be putting something away. You can't always just be flip, 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 have nothing set aside, because if something ever happens or you ever want to stop working and flipping, you'll have nothing there to live on and nothing there to that's been growing without you working. You need to have something working without you. You need to have something that is earning you money without exchanging your time for it. And so that's why I'm still always going to be very pro investing, even if it's not Pokemon, in something. But yeah, it has nothing to do with a dollar amount. Just take a zero off, right? Instead of 1,000 and 30, 40, 50K, make it, 3, 4, 500. I'm sure a lot of people could put 3, 4, 500 away. That's my take.
Well, I feel like, especially if you want to talk about like wealth disparity in this country, the number one factor that I feel like a lot of people don't hear brought up, that kind of distinguishes, the 1%ers from the rest, is compound interest. Like the amount of money that is made because a lot of these individuals grew up either having had someone invest for them at a young age, because there's, as much as I would love to have been a part of that, there are a lot of parents that will put money in for their kids in a Roth IRA when they're younger, or a traditional IRA. And if you look at the charts on how much money someone will have by the time they're 50, if they started when they were 10 years old versus 30, just those 20 years, it makes like a 5 to 10x difference. It's insane how drastic the difference is when you add another 10 to 20 years with compounding. So to Alex's point, I started my business officially at the end of 2020. I've obviously been in the hobby since I was 6, but realistically, from like a business perspective, right? Pokemon USA was founded in October of 2020. And from there, I was placing orders with my distro on average about $2,000 a month, right? Which is not a lot. Like that's not a lot of money for a business, right? And take the program out of it, right? Because obviously the program's one thing. That number is now closer into the ballpark of 30 to 50,000 a month is how much we're placing orders
Well,
for.
Eli, and think
If
about
we can
this,
get the
dude.
product, which of course,
Well, think about this,
we
dude.
can't.
How much money? Because I know the answer for me, but like, how much have you made in the last 12 months off just your appreciation of your investment in this hobby compared to your income? It's probably pretty close.
I mean, the end of year inventory for last year, which is funny because if you look at like the value of it, like the purchasing value of it was around 40 grand and the end of year value was around 100 grand. This
So I mean, you make
year,
$60,000. That's basically that's a pretty decent job's income on literally
yeah,
not working. That's the power of investing.
right. And we were able to invest another 60,000 going into the end of, oh, I'm sorry. So for 2023, the end of 2023, it was valued at 40,000. We had $40,000 we spent in inventory, but it's valued at 100,000. The end of 2024, we added an additional $60,000 in inventory, and it was valued at 420,000. Because a lot of our investments like quadrupled. I mean, me and Lost Origin, man, I went really heavy on Lost Origin, and my value of that original 40,000 that I spent to end the year of 2023, I think of it around 25,000 of it was Lost Origin. And obviously Lost Origin is over 400 a box now. So that obviously played a huge factor into that in the huge exponential growth. Silver Tempest, Brilliance, that also played a huge factor. I have some boxes of Paldea and Obsidian I'm sitting on. I had some Paldean Fates because there was a huge Paldean Fates restock that we had in the program, and I was able to take advantage of that. So I just literally took every opportunity I could to make a good purchase, and the margins on most of the items that I'm sitting on over the past year have doubled to quadrupled.
Yeah,
So
and the hardest part about investing is like starting out, right? It's like because when you're starting out, you don't see it because the numbers aren't a lot. So like the percentages don't mean a lot to you. So you're just like, well, Alex, all I could afford to invest was $100 a month. So I had $1,200 and I made 50%, which is crazy. And I only have $1,800 now, right? What they don't tell you is like, yeah, but if you do that for 10 years, right? And it compounds every single year, maybe you have years like this where it's insane growth. Well, now you get up to a point where eventually where you have like 10, then 20, then 50, then 100,000. Well, now if you have a 50% year with $100,000, you make 50 grand. If you build up to like 500 grand, you have 50% year. Now you make 250 grand doing nothing, sitting on your ass. While people are out there grinding every single day, your investments are literally paying you more than a full-time income because you took the time to build those, even when it was uncomfortable, even when people are telling you can use the money elsewhere, you can do this, you can do that, it's not worth it. It's just like it becomes worth it when the number grows big enough.
So the program itself has been probably it's a little bit over 2 years old now. I've probably made more money off of the compounding growth than I have the entire amount of revenue I profited from the program. Because it's like it's crazy, man. It's kind of hard to keep up with things when everything is 2, 3, 4xing year over year. Sounds crazy to say. I don't
Yeah.
think that's realistic over the long term. You're obviously not going to see exponential growth to that extent as much as we've seen it. But for what it's worth, it's going to show you how valuable compounding can really add to your portfolio.
And last before we take questions, this whole idea of people worry about buying in after things already go up. Guys, I was called every stupid name in the book when I bought into Evolving Skies. It was between $350 to $400 when I got, the two cases I have. And everyone's like, oh, they have to reprint that. It's too high. Pokemon would never let a set be that high, blah, blah, blah. They didn't reprint it. It went to $700, went to $1,000, sitting at $1,300 a box. I mean, do the math, right? You buy two cases, $350 a box, right? Now the two cases are worth $1,300 a box. Just by buying those two cases and holding them for a year and a half, that's how much money you made. Like, and then you think about like whatever job you have, think about how much you have to work, right, in the last year and a half to make that amount of money. It's probably a good portion of your salary. And it's like you can do the same things instead of like just like, pissing that money away maybe on, things you don't need, discretionary spending. And it's just like, but people just want to, come up with these things in their heads like, oh, I'm too far behind. These guys play with too big of money. There's not enough opportunities. This set's already high. And it's just like the opportunities are always there. It's just how much risk do you want to take and how much do you believe in this stuff?
Yeah, if you want to go back and track my initial investment, I had about, and this is the money I spent. This is not the value of my inventory, but end of 2022, end of 2021, I had spent about $5,000 in inventory. By the end of 2022, I had spent about $20,000 in inventory. And then by 2023, I had spent about $40,000 in total on inventory. And then by 2024, I had spent over $100,000. So obviously, as you can see, the correlation is I was obviously seeing an increase in how much I was able to afford to invest, but also specifically the generated revenue growth of how much my valued inventory was also exponentially went up, because the value of the collection when it was worth 20,000, it was valued at around 40,000 market value. Then when it went to 40,000, it was worth 100,000 market value. And then when it went up to 100,000, it was worth over 400,000 market value. So you went from 2x to 2.5x to 4x all in the span of over 3 years if you took the average of the investments. Obviously, as I was adding on to my portfolio, some of it was being brought down because it was newer investments, but still it averaged out exponentially greater even after adding positions late. Because like Alex said, you could have gotten Evolving Skies, and to be fair, like I will 100%, take I don't know if you want to point the finger at me on this or whatever, but I did not expect it to be at well over $1,000 this quickly. I did not. And so people were asking me the question of, should I be buying at 400? And I said, honestly, I don't know, because that's something that seems scary. It seems like it's expensive. I don't think it's the worst to, if you're in a position right now, sell some, keep some. But like for me, I was not advising people to aggressively go purchase at 400 because I was fearful of the fact that I don't know if it has the same amount of upwards trajectory, and I was wrong for it, right? We're now seeing it significantly over that. And so if you had gotten in a set that was valued at over $400, you could have still tripled your money in the span of over a year and a half. So it's like those opportunities, you don't have to get in at wholesale. You don't have to get in at, below MSRP. You can still find opportunities on items that are significantly higher because they're going to perform well.
The best thing to say is there's this old, like square little chart they put out, right? And there's 4 squares of like what 4 types of people you want to be. And you don't have to just be one, but it's always employee, small business owner operator, investor, large business, right? Everyone on this side is trading their time for money. Everyone on this side is either having employees work for them or their money work for them, right? And you can be an employee and still have your money work for you, right? You can run a small business, but if you only stay on this side of the square, it's very hard to ever get too far ahead because you're constantly having to trade your time for money. And even though you may build your hourly rate up $100 an hour, $200 an hour, you're always limited by how many hours are in a day, how many hours you can be awake working. Whereas with hiring more and more people working for you, deploying more and more money working for you in investments, there's no limits. And that is how wealth is built. It's not built by trying to continuously work harder and harder and flip more and more and get your hourly rate up more and more. It's like you can do that to an extent, but eventually you have to put the money away or do something else to build the wealth, because that's the two sides. You got to decide what one you want to be on. And even if you're on the one side, you're a business owner, employee, great. Like I am, I'm doing the same thing. you want to put money away to build for you and get some money on the other half of that square.
Yeah, when I first started my business, it was just me for about the first, you know, year. And then from there, my wife helped me out. Um, and she was a part of it for, I mean, well, she's still a part of it, but she joined on. And then a year after she joined on, we had an employee that we hired, our first employee, and now we're up to 6 employees. So, just part of the growth, you know. I mean, dude, I'm paying like 18 grand a month for labor. Like it's crazy. Dude, labor runs heavy.
Tell you what though, doesn't that feel good to know that like I mean, I would assume that like the people working probably like to some scale what they do. Like you're able to pay people to do something that they enjoy and work in like a safe, like, you know, good environment and all that. Like, and you're kind of responsible for that. It's pretty cool.
Oh man, I love it. Honestly, I love it so much.
It's rewarding.
I mean, just based off of the numbers, I'm already gonna offer bonuses to my employees because of our numbers in the shop. Um, I've been very open about trying to give my employees aggressive raises. So I'm always going to continue to try and work towards that. And another thing too, like I take a lot of inspiration from, Costco and other companies that just offer great benefits. And that's something that I would love to offer at some point to my employees. Because for me, I really care about having a really like positive work environment, because having people that are kind of bought into the vision long term is what I feel like is going to allow a business to grow. Trying to look at
Alfred's
your
starting a
employees as
union because you don't pay him.
Dude, I've offered Alfred. It's so funny. First and foremost, shout out to Alfred. He's awesome. He's been around here forever. Alfred, okay, I don't want to call out Alfred, but I asked Alfred, I was like, dude, what do you want me to pay you? And he goes, I already make so much money. It doesn't really mean anything else to me at this point. Just let me in the program for free. And then if I ever like need like dibs on anything, like hook me up. And I was like, dude, I fucking got you. You kidding me, dude? Like, heck yeah. Cause Alfred, dude, I mean, for those of you guys in the wholesale program, dude, Alfred is like, he's the man, dude. Alfred is legitimately the man. I can't thank him enough
he's a
for
robot.
everything that he's done.
I don't even think he's
You think it, I mean, he is one of those Silicon Valley computer programmer guys. I think it comes with the territory.
It's just like he's everywhere and always has like the answer for everything and is always available. It's crazy.
It's actually kind of accurate. He's one of the few people where I feel like he'll consistently answer like whenever I ask. Like I'll always text him or I'll always call him. I'll be like, because I'll be like, all right, give me updates, like what's going on. Did I miss anything? What needs, like he just has the answer for literally everything. Like he'll always.
I just figured he was like your Alfred, AI bot. I thought it was like Ask Alfred, like Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, Alfred's awesome.
If you want to take questions, we can, man.
Yeah, let's do it. So they didn't start with questions at this one, but I think it's a good one that I feel like worth discussing for myself. Are people in the wholesale program directing any of their anger of products being spread so thin to you, Eli? I would say no, because obviously we added new spots into the program, but funny enough, we literally added new spots into the program before product scarcity became an issue. And then about a month or two after I added those spots, product scarcity became an issue. So people, as they were joining, were seeing how much product was available, and then everything dried up. And then, of course, you have the other like 115 plus people that were in the program prior to that have been around forever. And they are like, wow, I've never seen it this bad before. So they understand that, most of them, I would say, maybe you've got your like 1%ers, but it's whatever. They understand I'm trying to do my best, right? Because there's only so much I can do, right? Like, obviously, what we've been trying to do with this product is if you're like one of our top spenders, we'll try and, allocate them some product. But then because of the way in which things are currently, we've started to do raffles on certain product just so it gives opportunities for people to have a chance of getting the product, because it's just like not available. Like, it's just so limited, right? So you'll have people place orders for like limited items like 151 bundles or Surging Spark or whatever distro has. And I'll be like trying to do my best to give it. And we're trying to be obviously as equitable as possible in the allocation process. I mean, if you literally break down the numbers, because we're super transparent about everything we do. I would argue that the big spenders should be getting allocated more than they are currently, but we're always trying to take care of everyone as much as possible. And so we try and do our best to obviously give people opportunities to just get product under the current market circumstances, right? You can't make everyone happy. It's the reality of the situation. I try my best to put a lot of thought and effort to everything I do, as well as, making sure I'm open, honest, transparent so people can see my thought process behind it. But under this current market, it's definitely tough because there's just not really much you can do. And more than that, what's even more difficult, right, is obviously it's frustrating for me as a business owner because, although our turnover rate in the program is not high, it still happens. And I understand leaving, but it's difficult because if you were to join the program because a spot's not available, right? If a reprint were to happen, you have to have been in the program, or if there were an opportunity, let's say like a ton of product just comes, right? You would have had to have been in the program to take advantage of that. So a proposition of like telling people, hey man, there's not a ton of product right now, but if you're not in the program now, then you're going to miss out. But also trying to sell that to someone with that overhead feels tough. And that's part and parcel one of the reasons why we have the 6-month rule in the program, which is been in the program for 6 months. You're guaranteed at least a case of booster boxes, which if you do the math, it pays for almost a year's worth of the program just based on the margin. So it's like we try and do our best to actually I should say 6 months of the program. I shouldn't say a year, but anyway, I digress. And
Yeah, I mean,
and so it's like,
here's kind of something about that too. It's just like it doesn't really have a lot to do with that, but like I was thinking about like my spend in the program, and I know myself right now, I'm definitely pretty cash heavy. I know other people that are definitely starting to like hoard some cash and prepare. Like that's another thing I'm thinking about when things get reprinted or a market downturn happens. Like, how many people are there like me that are like ready? Like, I am prepared to freaking spend this time. And so it's like, man, if we ever get to a time in that program where like there's actually product sitting there again and people don't want it all, dude, I'm jumping to the top of that list. I'm gonna spend freaking 50 grand a month with you if I have to, just to get my spend to the
oh
top again.
yeah, no, there's an
Could you
insane
imagine if that
amount of
happens
pent
where
up.
we actually have product available?
Dude, I think about that because literally, dude, like we had a record month in the program going back into February, or no, in January. We still had a really good month for February, but like we had done $750,000 in sales in the program, and that was with limited available product. Like we were talking like bottom of the barrel, scraping product availability. So it's like hitting numbers like that in a month, where like we were seeing if we could do that in like half a year. It feels wild to see. So yeah, if we had like more product, the demand for the program would overtake it tremendously, right? So
And that's what I'm
it's
saying. How many
it's
people out there are hoarding like cash right now, ready for those times? It's like, so
there's
that's
a
another thing. If
there's a
people think
decent
it's like
amount.
it's what I'm saying. We're gonna have this crash. It's like, guys, I don't think people are really estimating the total amount of people with cash ready to buy when that day comes, which is probably going to keep it buoyed up and at a certain level that's not going to let it completely crash. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting because I don't want to get too I don't want to get too much in my echo chamber here, because obviously running a program like this, you are seeing a market that's specifically geared towards my clientele base and people in the program. So it's very difficult because you don't really know how much that's going to affect the rest of the market. But obviously, it still gives a pretty good glimpse into the amount of demand that we're seeing currently if things were to correct with spend. So but yeah, no, building spend, that's an important factor. And it sucks, right? Because take the program out of it. I already kind of talked about this earlier. What do you say to new accounts or new stores that are trying to get access to distribution, and they want to get product and they can't even get a case, let alone someone in the program can, because there's no way for them to build spend? Yeah, Alex, perfect example of that, right? So it's like, and as much as I hate to say it, I would much rather be in a position where I'm able to get access to that opportunity to have distro, or be a part of the opportunity to see something happen when the market does eventually shift. Because if you're not there when it happens, then you're going to miss the boat, right? It sucks, but it's like if you're not in before the floodgates happen, I don't know. It sucks. It sucks. It's where we are in the market, but it's like that's just the reality of it all, right? These glimpses of opportunity, especially in the distro game, they don't last that long. And if you want to take advantage of it, you have to be there before it happens. It's not a matter of timing. It's not one of these things where it's like, oh, if I just, get distro, or if I get in the program at this time, perfect. It's like, nope, it's usually sold out before, or you have to be in it when it happens. And if you're not, then you're going to miss out because that opportunity is going to come super fast. More opportunities will happen after, but you can't time that.
100%.
But we'll move on to the next question. Obviously, we've been going for a while on that. If they are focusing on printing the new sets, think there's a hope for Destined Rivals to actually have a decent supply at release?
No.
I have no clue.
No. No. Stellar Crown is $200. No, Stellar Crown. Journey Together is being pre-ordered over $200. Surging Sparks is a $260 box. No, you will not find Journey. If Destined Rivals gets anywhere near under 200, it is going to be bought in mass by everyone in the hobby. No, it's not going to be widely available at cheap price.
They're literally going to have to they're going to have to print Destined Rivals so much, like a ridiculous amount, just for it to be at MSRP. So we'll see, but it's highly unlikely.
Don't give them false hope.
What? Because I said it's highly unlikely?
Let's be real. There's no possibility. Here, there's 0.0000 million zeros one possibility.
I always, you know me, man. I've been wrong before in the past, so I will give you my bias, and my bias is towards it being unlikely to happen, but that doesn't mean I can't be wrong. That's the reality of it all, right?
That's fair.
You can either agree with me or you can disagree with me, but I'm not 100%.
That's fair.
Next question. Do you have a specific rules to try to follow with your investment strategy? I'm pretty much operating on 5s right now. I like that. And think I may have gone a little too heavy on good sets, mind you.
Yeah, so I mean, my strategy, I like to stay pretty diversified. I know people think I'm crazy investing in collectibles, but to me they feel pretty safe, and I'm pretty conservative with investing, in my opinion. But that's up to opinion. So I like to keep things pretty leveled out. So when I get too heavy in a specific position, I usually like to skim a little bit off of that, and I'll take some profits on that and kind of get it more back in line with what else I have. And I'll just move on to new things. And so if you feel heavy in something, yeah, there's no reason not to take profits on that and move it into other things and just kind of level things back out. Like I just said, right now, it's not a bad time to hold cash and wait for opportunities to come. I made a video that, Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces seem undervalued. They did not get hit with the reprints. They're still lower than SV Base, Stellar Crown, and Obsidian Flames right now, which seems crazy to me because the value in those sets are higher. I think those could be like the Fusion Strike Chilling Reign of this generation, in my opinion. And so, just make different plays.
Yeah, my investment strategy, it's a little different, to be fair, because I do own the shop, right? And so a lot of my quote unquote investments are in the store's inventory, along with it being personal investment. I kind of treat it as the same, right? And then I'm also trying to potentially, if I'm lucky, have the opportunity to purchase a home sometime this year. So kind of ends up with me having a small amount of cash reserve for a down payment and then the rest being in product. But after we get the home, a lot of that money is going to start going into index funds and being diversified pretty heavily. So and also going into more older Pokemon products, which this sounds wild to say, but when I mean older, I mean Sword and Shield era, Evolving Skies, Sun and Moon era stuff, because space is a huge issue right now. And obviously, if I can lower the amount of value, price per square foot, that's being spent in holding my product, then that's going to be something that's important for me in the long term. All right, next question. Mason says, shout out to Mason for being here. Is Eli waiting to see a doctor? What is this room? For those of you guys that don't know, I am still in Italy. So I mentioned that at the start of the stream, but I left for, oh, dude, man. You know what sucked? I can't remember if I told you this, Alex, but so we had a connecting flight to JFK. Our connecting flight got delayed and it made us miss our flight to Italy. So we had to rebook our flight for the next day. So we were supposed to get into Italy on the 4th, but we didn't get in on the 5th, which sucks. But today's our last official day or night in Italy. We leave tomorrow, and then we will get back into Phoenix around the late on the 20th. So, because we're gonna stay in JFK for the day, just because the flight is gonna be so long, and we won't get until late in JFK. Next question. Someone already asked the question, where am I filming from? I'm filming from my hotel room. What if Pokemon is doing this internationally, printing a little bit here and there just so that they don't have a COVID crash? Pokemon is a smart company and they have learned from the mistakes.
I mean, I personally think that, but I just don't like to say it anymore because everyone gets so upset. Like if I was running a collectible company, right, I would want my product to be on the scarce side. If I had to overshoot one way or another, I would rather overshoot to the upside rather than the downside, because when you overshoot to the downside, it gives a loss of confidence in your product and it slows down sales. It slows down confidence in the overall market going forward. And it does, as people think it doesn't, but it does actually, kind of push people away from, putting large amounts of their money in those, in that hobby. And so it's like, I understand it pisses kind of the game piece army off a little more when you push to the other way and it's over MSRP. But if you go too far under MSRP, well, then you end up with situations we've seen in the past, like the Chilling Reign Fusion Strike scenario, like the Roaring Skies Primal Clash scenario, like the beginning of Scarlet Violet scenario. If you push too far, it's actually a worse thing than having it a little more expensive. Now, we may be pushing too far the other way now that we're seeing all this craziness, but like, I think as close as they can get to MSRP is probably the best. If it's a little over, great, a little under, great, but I would much rather have $200 boxes than $80 boxes. And so that's if those were the two choices, I think Pokemon may think the same way, and they may just kind of be slow to print heavy amounts because they're kind of testing the waters and they don't want to push too far.
Well, what you're literally saying, Alex, is exactly what Magic is trying to fix right now.
Yes.
I mean, for the longest time, they were printing their product literally into the dirt, like absolutely into the ground. And because of that, they lost a ton of credibility when it came to the value of a lot of their items, because they just became so unpredictable on what was going to get printed, what was not going to be printed, how heavily. And so more recently, you've seen a huge reduction in how much product they're going out and printing, whether it be collector boxes, commander decks, and so on. So you're seeing literally the exact opposite happen with Magic, where they're trying to pull back. So I guess to the point that is being made here, I've said this before, maybe it's a crazy take, but I think people are understating Pokemon's ability to print things, because there are ulterior factors, like what Alex is saying, that are not being taken into consideration. Just because Pokemon does or doesn't have the capability to print something in the ground doesn't mean they're going to do it. People need to realize that's a whole other possibility that a lot of individuals are not considering.
Winning Wednesdays.
You good, Alex?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was talking to my buddy's finishing up for the day.
Your buddy or your employee?
He's my friend.
I know. I'm just messing with you.
He works with me. We are partners in building the NN empire.
I like that. Have I told you that one of my best friends works for me at the shop?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, one of my best friends. He's our front of house. Shout out to Colton. And we get a little too loose in the work environment sometimes. I always make jokes about firing him if he doesn't send me feet pics.
Oh, dude, we when I'm not streaming, we had like South Park on, then we were watching like old school Wolf of Wall Street. Like he's like, it's like, what do I tell people what I do for work? While I sit here and I ship and sort these cards and I watch Wolf of Wall Street and South Park. That's work.
I mean, that's super accurate. I mean, we've got people doing like RI invoices for direct in the back for TCG Player, and they're literally like they have their like stuff that they're doing, right? They're doing their polls, and then they're just listening to like podcasts or they're like watching TV series in the background. And it's crazy because you wouldn't like you think like, oh dude, how can someone be allowed to watch a movie while they're at work? It's like, dude, they're crushing RI invoices so fast. They can totally do it. Like one of my employees, like, yeah, I just went through and watched all of Dexter. I'm moving on to the next series that I'm watching while I'm at work, and I'm like, hell yeah, dude. So it's pretty. It sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's brutal work, but also at the same time, being able to listen to a podcast while you do it and like be in a chill work environment, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I've been about that since like day one. Like I've always hated I've always been very like critical of the corporate world. I've always hated everything about it. I hate dress codes. I think they're ridiculous. Like no one can actually show any data that shows like what you wear actually leads to better productivity, better sales, like anything like that. When it shows like, these stupid like work environments people try to create, they don't have any data to show anything works. And then like you have small companies like yours showing it like, oh yeah, let employees do this, do that. It's just like, oh, they're crushing it, better sales than ever. It's just like, I mean, has anyone ever taken the data and seen like, hey, maybe it's all about like what people enjoy and having them enjoy themselves and feel like they, get to, be themselves at work and not have to be this weird like form of themselves at work to try to put on this face to like fake it. It's like, I don't know, man. I like seeing the new world and how people are like finding ways to do things and make a living without having to fit in this weird structure that we've created in the modern age.
Well, it's like, it's kind of funny. I don't know if this is going to sound bad, but like one of the things that I always kind of found hilarious and I like really thought of was you've seen The Office, obviously, right?
Of course.
Of course, right? There's this one scene in The Office where, so it was after Michael left and they were going through their compilation of trying to find new managers, right? And there was this one episode where they were in limbo of having a manager and it like is them interviewing Jim and they're like, yeah, so we haven't had a manager for like a week. And well, what do you know? Everything is running smooth. Literally nothing's changed. Everyone's hitting their quotas. And it was just something funny that I found hilarious because they were almost making a joke about, to a certain extent, like, don't get me wrong, managers, super duper important. But like, who would have guessed that a bunch of adults that rely on like getting paid to perform at their job are going to do their job? Like, it's just stuff like that where I thought it was kind of funny. And honestly, like, that's kind of the relationship I have with a lot of people at the shop that work for me, right? Like, obviously, we have a professional relationship, like understanding that, like, hey, I pay you, do your job. And if you do your job well, then I'm not going to be on your butt about it, right? But past that, it's like they understand that there is an equal motivation for both of us, where if they do a better job, or we continue to crush sales, or we're able to consistently output, I'm going to continuously increase pay, offer bonuses, increase benefits, whatever I can to take care of my employees, because if they're going to, treat me well, then I want to treat them well, right? It's definitely a huge, I would argue, and maybe I'm talking from a personal perspective, but I would say cultural shift than from what my parents grew up with cubicles. Yes. And hand in the TPS report on my desk. Hey, you know what I mean? Like Office Space type vibes.
Dude, it's like we're all just people. Like, it's like, okay, you're the business owner. You're the one taking more risk, financial risk, handling more stress, making like more decisions. And other people, they just want to, have something to show up to and enjoy and get paid enough to support the lifestyle they want. Yeah, they want to be appreciated and seen, growth over time, which is in forms of raises or bonuses or whatever, maybe more responsibilities. But it's just like, not everyone wants the same things. And most people, like I said, most people are good people. Most people just want to show up and do their job and get paid and then be able to go home and do the things they want to do with the people they love to enjoy them with. They want to be able to afford to do some things they like maybe go on vacation, go to like some out to eat here or there, a concert here and there, buy a decent car, buy a decent house. Like most people just like, they just want to live. And I think like we've created this environment where, you know, in the corporate world where it's not that anymore. It's all like, you know, trying to like impress this person, trying to fit in these office politics and trying to get to the top and grind here. And you got to be better than that guy. And it's just like, guys, we're making too much out of this. Like, life's not that difficult. Everyone kind of wants the same things. Everyone's going to do it in a different way. Everyone's got different levels of ambition, sure. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, 1,000%, dude.
Yeah.
No, I was coughing. I'm sorry. I should have muted myself. That's my bad.
But yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
If you had $10,000 to invest in anything, what would it be right now? Gold, Pokemon, crypto, S&P 500. If Pokemon, which set would you invest?
Okay. They're so I don't really follow the precious metals as much. I don't know. It's just I'm not big on the whole gold, silver, precious metals, but I will say you can make an argument for any one of those: Pokemon, crypto, or S&P. Honestly, like,
dude, gold.
I don't think there's a terrible spot to put your money. Like, I don't think Bitcoin's terrible. I definitely don't think putting in the VU right now is terrible, or even buying some of these really beat up companies. I mean, I know, like, man, talk about tech companies, like, you know, not Nvidia, but AMD. You know, and Nvidia is one of their competitors. They're down like 50%. They were like a $200 stock. Now they're like under 100, I think. Still, maybe they're back over.
Talking about Intel,
AMD.
Oh, AMD.
Yeah, so they're down like 100 points. Like, there's a lot of companies right now that are really beat up. So, and then same thing with, you know, Bitcoin or XRP. Like, a lot of stuff's beat up right now, and sure, it could keep going down. But I mean, I think there's definitely arguments to be made to average into all this stuff. Same thing I said with like Temporal Forces or Paradox Rift or some of these Sword and Shield sets. Like, don't go all in, but like, it definitely to start taking nibbles, right? Start building your positions, average in. If it goes up, great. If it keeps trending down, average in a little more. I think you can make a case for any one of those right now.
So this isn't my answer, but I actually do follow precious metals. I have been since 2017. Weirdly enough, I'm invested in silver. I've been invested in silver since I was 16 years old. I don't know. I started
now,
investing.
Is it physical, or is it like, do you own like
physical?
So you have
physical
silver bars?
I do. It's not a ton, right? I mean, I started investing in it when I was 16, you know, working as a host at like a restaurant. So it's not like it's big money over here. But yeah, I have some just standard like silver bars, like, you know, pound here. And then I also have some silver bullions of like American Eagles, or like my favorite, because I think they're cool to collect, is Chinese pandas. Oh, they're so sick. They have a different design each year. Funny enough, there is a huge collector scene for that.
On different designs?
Oh yeah, big time, dude. Chinese silver pandas, like, there's ones that I bought that were like $20 when spot silver was like 16, and they sell for like 50, $60 now. Like, because people love to collect
only worth
them.
What, like 40?
1 ounce. Or so like a standard like a round
picture bullion. The panda sells for like a pretty good premium over the price of silver, you're saying?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, like I was just saying. So the spot price of silver was 16, and the value at the time of it was 20. And then right now it sells for like 60, 65. And I think spot silver's in the 30s right now. So it's like double over spot for some of these.
I've never been a precious metals. I've never dove into the precious metals market.
I mean, silver, I like silver, but ultimately gold's just performs so good as well too. If you've been watching the rise of gold, it's been insane to see how crazy it's gone up lately. But yeah, I guess, you know, not to go too far off on precious metals, I would definitely say that for me, if I had $10,000, I would. It's hard because I feel like
if you could buy Pokemon at distro, you would buy Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a hard question to give because there's so many different opportunities. If you had Pokemon at distro, I'd say that, right? If you're someone that's older and wants to be less risk averse, yeah, I'd say go get some VOO, like 100%. You know, dividends obviously are something that are a lot safer on an index level, right? But if you're someone that's wanting to go more aggressive, and this wasn't bought up, I know it's only $10,000. Real estate is also something that I'm starting to see a lot of people, you know, I mean, real estate just does good over time, you know. just historically speaking. I know you're not going to be able to get something with $10,000, and I'm kind of diverting from answering the question, I guess. But for me, I would save up more money and start getting into real estate as well as an alternative form. But if we're saying that's not on the table and you're trying to go more aggressive, I think Pokemon is the answer. Crypto's fine, but I don't know. Crypto's fine, but I don't know. Pokemon just people. It's funny because I used to be pretty big into crypto, and a lot of my friends like who knew me as being like the crypto guy back before crypto was popular. They were like, "Oh, are you in crypto as much anymore?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "Because Pokemon made me more money than crypto would have made me money."
Yeah, you were definitely
Like,
early
seriously.
on it.
Yeah, I was in crypto. I got into crypto in 2017, back when before it hit 20 grand. It was back at like 3 grand, and then I stuck around until like 2021. I still have crypto, but I'm not nearly as heavy bags as I am, just because Pokemon just feels so much safer. As crazy as it sounds.
Dude, it sounds crazy to any regular person, but like, dude, I feel so much safer in a booster box than like a single stock, a single crypto, anything.
You can't tell me that you don't feel safe right now. If I just said, "Hey, I've got 10 grand. I'm gonna go buy 6 or 7 booster boxes of Evolving Skies." Like, I'm sleeping sound at night, dude. Like, I am having good dreams. Like, personally, dude, if I went and bought a case of Evolving Skies.
Here, I'll actually challenge someone. Like, if someone wants to pick one stock right now, right? Pick one stock, and I'll take Evolving Skies, and we'll take a year from now and see which one did better. I think Evolving Skies will win.
Yeah, it's so crazy. But like, literally, Evolving Skies, it.
And
I'm
if the
literally
market
just
crashes,
thinking about it.
let's say the economy crashes, right? And like we have a really downtime recession. I think Evolving Skies even holds up better than the majority of stocks on the downturn.
Man, I feel the exact same way, dude. It sounds crazy like thinking about it in my head right now, but I'm like, dude, if a market crash happened, Evolving, I feel like would still hold pretty strong. I don't see it going to like 500, 600, 700 a box, let alone sub 1,000. Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, I think my
But again, like,
answer is
I don't like to say that because like that's how I feel personally, but I don't want to push anyone
right.
else out to like, because then people will start coming at you with like, so you're telling people to like not invest in the stocks and stuff, and you're putting the Pokemon. That's so stupid. It's like, yeah, I agree. If you haven't been involved in this market that long, you don't trust it like that. It is stupid. Don't do it. But it's like, if you're asking me personally, I feel right at home here.
If we're talking from a diversification perspective, if I said I can only choose the items that were on the list for 10 grand, as much as I hate to say it, I'm probably going 1,000 in crypto. I'm probably going 3,000 in indexes. I'm going about another 1,000 in individual stocks, and then the remaining is going in Pokemon. So it's at least 50% of the portfolio. I'm still diversified pretty heavily, but I just feel so much more confident with Pokemon.
Yeah.
For fun guessing, which will happen first? Booster box prices will rise where ES will hit 2K, or Fusion will hit 1K, or LO 800. No time frame to hit.
2K, Evolving Skies 2K. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I love LO. Don't get me wrong, and LO's had an insane rise, but like, yeah. I think ES to 2K just seems so much more likely because when it makes a move, ES doesn't make a small move. It makes big moves. It makes big legs
people
up.
aren't talking about either. When you're talking about percentage gains, they're basically saying LO, is it 400 again? I don't think it's 400 yet again.
It's at 400 again, yeah.
Okay, 100% move. Fusion Strike, 100% move. Evolving Skies, that's not a 100% move. That's like a 40% move or something, 45% move.
Yeah.
Like, that's a much less move than you're talking about on Fusion or LO with this model.
Yeah. Here, let me pull it up real quick and we can take a look.
Like for Evolving Skies to go from 13 to 2K, it's a much easier move in theory than a doubling.
Lost Origin booster box. Dude, I hate all the photos. When are they going to get rid of that? All right, so lowest listed right now for Lost Origin booster boxes, verified seller is $403. So Evolving Skies, booster
1306.
box. Is that what you're seeing?
I don't know. I've been following it pretty closely. I think it's right around there.
Lowest listed right now is 1307. Yeah. 1306.99. Yeah, so it's right around 13 grand. So from a percentage perspective, doing some math, what would that be? 40%, I think is what you said?
So, yeah, maybe 45, something around there.
Yeah, and yeah, LO, it's a 100% gain. It makes the most sense mathematically. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a bigger jump
Oh no, my bad. It's
from
more than
like a
that. It's more than
dollar.
that. It's close to 55%. My bad.
Wait, what? To 2 grand? No, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
55% would be 715.
oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
I was off too. I was off too.
I just did the math in my head. I was like, what? No, oh, wait, no, it is. You're right.
Either
What was I gonna say
it's
though?
like half the move that Fusion would have to make, and LO would have to make.
Yeah. Well, also you have to think about it too. Like, sure, it's a bigger dollar value, but the general scarcity right now of evolving skies in the general market makes it so that the volatility is so much more. Because if you have a large amount of people that are like listing on TCG Player, you're going to have more competition, which in theory is going to have people undercutting each other for a longer period of time. So it's not going to move as much. Whereas with Evolving Skies, general listings like are significantly lower. I mean, if we look at current sellers, I want to make sure I'm not speaking out of my butt here, but if we look at Evolving Skies right now, it says current sellers is 49, quantity is 118. If we go look at that for Lost Origin, current sellers is 55. Oh my God, it's saying there's less Lost Origin right now on the market, it's saying there's only 107. Really? That actually is surprising to me. What do you think? There's no way there's more LO or there's more LO on the market than ES, you think? No? At least on TCG Player, it's showing that there's less quantity of a Lost Origin than there is Evolving. That feels weird.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are just holding off. I mean, I really don't know, dude. That's weird.
Because that's surprising to me. I'm actually
especially with that late reprint.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. We might have to. We'll see. But I'm still taking Evolving. But that definitely makes me curious about what LO's next leg is going to be, because it might be a pretty big one if we're starting to see scarcer sales numbers on TCG Player with quantity of available boxes. Question: Summer start of downturn. SSPE and DR were hyped months before, but I hear no one talking about Black and White set and the Mega set after. They should have catched up with the reprints then too. Opinion?
I don't even like give my opinion anymore, guys. You know my opinion. My opinion is I do not think they're gonna slow down. I don't think things are gonna get cheaper. I think it's kind of like a pipe dream. I just think Pokemon in themselves is actually underestimating the burn rate of product. I don't think they even understand the rip and ship culture nowadays. I mean, there's so much product being burned every single day, more than ever before, and I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with it anytime soon.
I mean,
we're 6 months to a year away from stabilization.
I mean, I think there's a correction coming. I think there's no doubt about that in my mind. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you.
I have a magic 8 ball.
I guess that's yeah. He's got a magic 8 ball. So it's like correction's gonna come. Do I know what sets are going to be a part of that correction? Do I know when it's going to happen? Heck, do I know if it's going to be this generation? What's to say that a big part of the reason why we're seeing this insane demand is because of the incredible art designs, and then the minute the next generation comes out, Pokemon purposely puts out some sets, whether it be the base set or sets to follow, that are way less interesting, just so that they can have the opportunity to print some more of the back half of Scarlet and Violet so they can lower the pricing. We have no clue. This is all super hypothetical stuff, but ultimately it's like there's so many things that could be played out, and how it's going to go down, we won't really know until we know. Just understand that, you know, it's going to come at some point, but we just don't have a way to really definitively answer that question with a time frame.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't like to put that out there. I answer it when I'm asked it, but it's like I know people don't like to hear it because, it's like, oh, it's FOMO, it's Alex trying to keep the market up because he owns a lot of it. Like, look, I don't need to talk about it. I'm not trying to. It's just that we're asked the question, so I'm going to give you my answer. That's how I truly feel, and that's why I do buy the stuff and hold it, because I do feel that way.
Actually, hold on. Before we answer this question, we have a $5 donation. Thank you so much, Pokemarket Labs. Pokemon no doubt beats many things as an asset class. Physical risk and liquidity are biggest challenges. No one thinks about considering that when getting in. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think that's why people don't understand the like above average gains. Is like you have to have above average gains for this to be worth it, right? Because yes, there's physical risk, there's liquidity issues, there's storage, all that. Like, because you put forth all that, we're seeing higher than average gains on price. We're seeing these 50%, 100% moves in a year and a half. Whereas, like, yeah, you can throw in the S&P and you can see an average of 10% on good years, 20 up to 30% on bad years, down. But it's just like, yeah, if you aren't seeing higher than average gains on collectible assets, of course you just throw your money in an S&P index. Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Why would you go through all this trouble to see regular returns? And so it's like, yeah, I mean, for the physical risk, liquidity, all that, you get higher than average gains and things like this.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the reality of the market, right? There's a lot more labor that's being put into the sales of the product, but also there's much more margin on average. Alex, I'm assuming you buy the random ancillary products from your distro. Do you sell any of that, or are those also investments?
I usually break them all down and use the packs for breaks, and I usually just give a lot of the promos away to people who don't get hits. Like, I'll just put them in the box of second chances, I call it. I have a little box that I keep extra hits in, and that way when like people will get a few packs and they don't get any hits, I'll just give them a card or two out of that to go home with, so they don't go home with nothing. So that's usually what I do with that product.
When are we gonna get exclusive Pokenomics USA base set packs? I want to invest.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Mystery packs. Bring them back, Eli. Bring them back after all these years.
I need to with the program. I've been talking about it for a while now, and we had a mystery pack we did for the program as like a thank you, where we actually lost money. I think we lost in total like $3,000 on the mystery packs.
How?
As like, hey, what do you mean how?
How'd you lose money?
Oh, because we weighted the odds in everyone's favor. So like the actual
like after, like,
value,
costs and shipping and all that, I guess.
So how it worked, like, so how am I forgetting his name? PokeRev. You know how he has his packs and they're like 1 in 25 for gold and like 1 in 10 for silver. So we did one. It was $100. It was a 50% chance, if I'm correct, or it was 1 in 4. I think I can't remember. It was like a 50% or a 1 in 4 chance that you would get a silver pack, and then it was like or you would get a gold. So those were the only 2 options that you would get. So we purposely made it where obviously it was a more expensive one, but we purposely made it so that if you took the price of like the average of all of the values of the mystery packs, obviously you're taking the value of the most expensive compared to the lowest. We lost, I think, like $10 or $20 a unit, and then also as well, then shipping as well. So But I did that on purpose though. I did that because for me, like I wanted to thank everyone that was a part of the program, and so it wasn't really something that I made to make money. I purposely made it to where we went through, did the calculations, and said, "All right,
It's a
how
marketing
much are we
expense.
okay with losing?" It's a marketing.
Marketing
It's a
expense.
loss leader, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's like a loss leader to a certain extent, but I don't know. I don't look at it as like a loss leader because it was more of like a, "Hey guys, thank you. Like, thank you for making me have the opportunity to quit working and having to consider getting another job. I can now full time do Pokemon. It's the least I can do." Rudy's Basement, thanks for the $2. Alex, loan Eli one of your UA hats. Sheesh.
Eli's got to get the sponsorship. I'm sponsored, man.
Dude, I gotta start representing all of the Alex merch. What
I
do you
still got to
think?
make the
Every
Sis Army
video?
merch. The Sis Army, dude. The what is it? It's scalper investor shill merch.
Heck yeah, baby. Part of the program. That's what we're all about. We love scalping product. I mean, how many times have I run into you at this point, Alex, at Costco when we're trying to fight for that 151?
I know, man. I was taking bows, throwing knees. I was doing Bruce Lee kicks, but I came out with that. I came out with that Blooming Waters though, and it was all worth it.
Absolute freaking champion. Do you think they'll reprint Prismatic Evo standard ETBs, or will it be more booster bundle and collection boxes?
Dude, how did they not reprint 151? How did they never reprint 151 ETBs? That's crazy.
I mean, they did after the release, like 2 months after the release, they reprinted 151 ETBs.
I mean, I guess you can call it it was more like a restock.
It was a big reprint. It was a big reprint. Oh yeah.
It just seems
if you had
it's weird that
distro,
we've never gotten more. Back in Sword and
if
Shield
you were,
era, you would have got more.
if you were in the program, because people in the program know this, we had to actually put in numbers for the reprint. So it wasn't like here's what you get allocated. It was no, you put in numbers so we can kind of see what the demand is. And we ended up getting like half a thousand boxes of ETBs.
Okay.
That's a good amount, right? And this was back when the program wasn't even a year old. So that was a lot for us. What was I gonna say? One thing that is interesting as well, I will be curious to see what the print windows are gonna look like for Pokemon. Because to like the point of Magic with like printing to demand, there are certain sets like the Spider-Man set that's going to come out. Take a guess what you think the deadline is for the Spider-Man set. It doesn't come out to the end of this year, if I'm correct. It's available for pre-order right now. Guess when the deadline is to put in your numbers. Just guess.
No idea. No.
Yeah, of course.
August.
Yeah. Hey, actually, yeah, the answer's right. It's August. That's funny. You nailed that. The set itself, the deadline for pre-orders is 5 months out. And it's because right now, Magic is trying to look and see what the demand is for these sets. Because the Spider-Man set, the obviously Final Fantasy set, like these sets are going to be insane. So they're putting pre-order windows really like heavy, like really, not heavy, sorry, really like far in advance, because the expectation is they're probably going to see an insane amount of demand, and so giving them that window to where they can get a really good kind of like understanding of how much they're going to want. I'd be interested to see if something like that ever happens in Pokemon, because it always feels like Pokemon gives like the most insane short window where it's like 4 weeks and that's it. Like, oh, it's announced, all right, you've got till end of month. But to kind of answer his question, though, with Prismatic, I think it's possible we do ETBs. This is speculative. Obviously, this is very speculative. I think what's probably going to happen, can't confirm anything.
Collection box.
It's what is it called? The super, is it the premium box? What's it called?
Yeah, super premium collection.
The super premium collection. Yeah. I think we could see a situation where that super premium collection kind of like what we saw with the Charizard UPC, gets absolutely obliterated into the ground.
151 was that way.
There was a lot of 151 UPCs that were printed too. That was also part of the
those were
allocation
$80
reprint.
in my local card shop for months.
Forever. I totally see that as being a possibility. I think that you could see that item get absolutely just decimated in terms of its overall value. Because the Charizard UPC, a lot of people don't remember this. The Charizard UPC, when it first came out, was pre-selling for $300, and then it corrected all the way down to $75. That's an insane retracement. So I'm not saying it's going to go that low. Obviously, the wholesale on it, I think, is $60 or $55. I can't remember exactly. It depends on the distro. But like, I would be interested to see what Pokemon ends up doing. But that's kind of my bet for what we're going to see as far as them addressing the reprints with.
Well, I can say one
demand.
thing. We see a very clear trend in Sun and Moon.
Yes.
Booster boxes were the trend. That was what they reprinted. And that's why the whole thing was ETBs are good investments because they don't get reprints. You know, the whole thought was, well, Pokemon doesn't want to reprint the dice and the sleeves and all that. It's easier to reprint the boxes. Sword and Shield comes around. ETBs become the mainline item that get reprinted. So then booster box. Well, now we're seeing booster bundles as the mainline item that gets reprinted. We just got Surging Spark, like MD Sports Card said. We just got Surging Sparks. We got, 151, Paldean Fates, all this. And so it's like, maybe Pokemon's now shifting again into booster bundles are going to be the most reprinted item, and then they're going to make these late stage collection boxes like they did with Sea and Sky and Blooming Waters. Maybe they'll do a late stage collection box for Prismatic, and they'll have those in bundles. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe ETBs don't. I don't know, but it seems they're going that direction. They're starting a pattern.
I think that.
Because Crown got bundles too. It got bundles, then it got the Sea and Sky.
Yeah, so you had bundles for Paldean Fates, then Crown Zenith bundles, then Surging and so on. But here's my thing. Honestly, all I think this really shows, this is just my belief on this, is that Pokemon is willing to switch it up. There's nothing that we can really say is certain because, like you were just saying, at one point it was boosters, at one point it was ETBs, bundles, premium collections, super premium, whatever. Like, it's something where and there's probably factors at play we don't realize, but Pokemon, they've been really consistent about being inconsistent about what their kind of item of choice is and what they're focusing on reprinting or addressing reprints through. I don't really want to answer this. I feel like we've talked about this so much. Are PC ETBs a good long-term investment?
I would say anything under $100, yeah. Once it gets over 100, I don't know.
I think they're a long-term investment. If you've been watching my channel since the inception, those were one of my things that I always talked about. I think they're a good investment long-term. Question. Fruit for Thought says, which early set would you buy? Wait, hold on. Which early set would you buy already have? I don't know what he means by that. Do you know what he means by that? Which early set would you
he already has Temporal, Paldea, and Twilight.
Oh, which set would you already buy and then already have?
Paradox. Gotta be Paradox, man.
Yeah, it's probably Paradox. What's Temporal?
He's already got it.
I mean, he's saying other than what he has available. Then it would be.
I think it has to be Paradox.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Stellar. I wouldn't say Obsidian. I wouldn't say Base. Unless we're talking specialty sets. If we're talking booster boxes, I think the clear answer is Paradox.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think Paradox. Do you think the chase for 10s in the ETB promos could drive their scarcity up? For they outpace booster boxes in some cases, OBF, for example, with the Charmander?
Yeah,
It's possible.
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
the only
the
the only
logic
issue
makes
is like
sense.
the only issue is like, when you're looking for gains like that, you're taking on much more extreme risks. So it's like if these promos come out of the gate and they're $300-$400 and like you see one run to like 800, it's just like, yeah, it's great and everything, but it's like you're taking on extreme amounts of risk buying in a $300-$400 card. Whereas with sealed products, you're not taking on, now you're taking on a lot of risk, but before you weren't really taking on a lot of risk. Like buying a PCETB at $65 on Pokemon Center is little to no risk, right? Whereas buying a
Yep.
PSA card that's already that valuable, it's kind of risky, especially in a market downturn.
Yeah. All right, let's do a couple more questions and then get out of here. We've been going for almost 2 hours. That's so funny. Someone said 420 sounds like a made up number when I talked about my inventory value. I didn't think about that. 50% growth a year. Yeah, it's crazy, man. People are putting in their numbers on how much they're up on their investments on Sword and Shield in the chat. It's crazy.
Love it.
168% less than 2
Me,
years,
me and
150
Eli, me and
plus
Eli run
percent.
me and Eli run a live stream a long time ago on a channel called Pokenomics. And everyone back then, especially a lot of his audience, said that Sword and Shield would never be anything. It wasn't going to perform like Sun and Moon and XY. Modern Pokemon was not investable. Remember that?
We were brought in as the modern guests.
That was only like 3 years ago, dude. It's
It's
amazing
not that
how the
long.
landscape's changed. It's like now it's like everything's accepted. Back then, guys, a very large majority of the investing space in Pokemon did not believe in Modern as an investment.
It's insane. I mean,
Not
for
that long
me,
ago.
it always made the most sense, at least because with modern, you know what the wholesale price is. So if you go buy an item at around wholesale, because obviously there was a lot of opportunity back then, it's not as prevalent now. It felt like a no-brainer because the item itself, if there was a correction, it wasn't going to correct that much lower than wholesale versus these more vintage items. You could see easily 30 to 50% retracements on a lot of these singles and or sealed products. So for me, it's just like I felt like it was so much more lower downside risk. All right, one more question after this. For the last few, sorry about my cough. For the last few eras, hype has ramped up to the end of the era, at which the point the prior era sets go crazy. It gets exponentially more extreme each cycle. Do you see this pattern continuing? 100%. I 100% think that. I talked about this all the time. Do you remember for the longest time, dude? Oh my god, bro. This is gonna drive me nuts. Do you remember for the longest time back when Paradox was around and I literally kept telling people just wait for the second half of the Scarlet and Violet era. Just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. Everyone, I told everyone that for the longest time. You guys think right now it's bad. Like, that's fine. Wait till the second half comes around. When we get the second half of the Scarlet and Violet era, it's going to be insane. Things are going to go crazy. I didn't think it was going to go this crazy, but like I had been calling that forever because guess what? It's always been that way every single time, historically speaking. And when we say second half, it's not like the first 8 sets, the second 8 sets. It's when they introduce the new art design and they introduce the new kind of like hotness. Because if you start to notice a pattern, right? Sword and Shield era, what did they introduce? Alternate art cards. In my mind, second half is like all the alternate card sets and then thereafter. Sun and Moon era, tag team. XY era, it was the primal card. Like, you've got sets that you can go back and you can take a look at and say, wow, these sets performed well. What's the trend, historically speaking? A large majority of them are part of the back half of that generation. That's not obviously always like to say that a set can't perform really good in the first half. Obviously, Paldea Evolved, obviously, Flashfire and Phantom Forces, right? Like, there are these sets that are not going to be part of that are going to perform well, but you're going to have a lot higher of a probability of there being a lot of banger sets during the second half or the next art style of that generation.
And I want to add to that. This is the first time in modern times, but since I've been back in the hobby, that an era didn't start out strong. I mean, guys, like Sun and Moon started out pretty strong. Like Guardians Rising was a very loved set. Burning Shadows, that Charizard was a huge chase. It wasn't until we got to Crimson where things started slowing down. Then Shining Legends, like the Evolutions train everybody was on. It lasted through 2017. Same thing with Pandemic. Pandemic, we came into Sword and Shield hot as ever. Those sets went to the moon, right? Scarlet Violet's been the first era that started out in a deficit and everything was like down on it, silver borders, everyone hated it. So there's no precedent set that saying, oh, once a new era starts, it's all going to go down. It's like, it's only happened with Scarlet Violet. The other eras lasted 2, 3, 4 sets in before that really came down. So it's like, just because a new era starts doesn't mean it's immediately all bets are off. I think we might have a little bit of time left.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, but I think you're probably going to see, I know this might be controversial. I think you're probably going to see that kind of repeat going into the next generation. I think you're going to start to see
Team Bull, baby.
Team Bull forever. I think people are going to take one look at the base set and be like, base set, blah. Who likes base set? Even though Scarlet and Violet base set was one of the best base sets. They're going to be
like this fat, and they're going to be signed by Pikachu.
I mean, dude, literally think about SV base. SV base is the best base set I would argue that they've ever made in terms of pure art design, and yet people dogged on it so much.
Eli, what if Ash's Charizard signed a card himself? Like, what would you pay for that?
Dude, I'd pay all the feet picks in the world. All of them. All right, last question here. Then we are completely done. I thought I saw. Oh, here we go. With SV era packs rising incredibly fast and market showing not slowing down on sale, which SV era pack do you think will reach $20 first? Which booster box do you think will reach $500 first? Just to make this interesting, let's only answer for the sets that are currently out right now. So don't do Journey Forward. That's too tough to predict.
Oh, so
what's available right now?
No Destined Rivals?
No Destined Rivals. No, because I think that's a little bit of a layup there, or as far as we know, right? I think it's more fun if we look at what's available currently.
I gotta believe they're gonna try to print more Surging. I'm gonna take Paldea still, dude. I'm still taking Paldea. And then $20 packs, I gotta believe they're gonna try to print Prismatic pretty good. I gotta take 151.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. I think 151 $20 pack, I think that's a good pick. As far as it goes with Surging, how much of the Surging are they going to print is really the answer. Because I like your logic. That's exactly how I'm thinking about it. If
Surging
hypothetically speaking,
Surging could still blow away Paldea.
If Surging doesn't have any major correction from any sort of major print, then I think Surging 100%. But if it does and it gets suppressed, Paldea is going to run away with it.
Yeah, it's probably just wishful thinking. It's probably going to be Surging.
But all right, that's it, man. You got anything else you want to say before we start our outro to the people?
It's good to be back, man. Good to have you back, and we'll be back next week.
Yeah, buddy. I'll be back in freaking Arizona again. It'll be nice to be back home. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel. Of course, Alex, if you want to check his content out, link is down in the description below. Check out his rip and ship or his content. And then, of course, if we ever have any spots available in the wholesale program, you can always make sure to see the link down in the description below for that. Join the Discord.
Team up tonight, baby.
Ooh, that'll be a fun one. Who doesn't love chasing the Latios card?
Right.
All right, folks. Have a good one. See you all next Tuesday. Peace.